Huge news today, and I say news as in, who knows, but apparently the SnyderVerse is coming back and everyone on the internet is freaking out, so I'm here to talk about it today. What's up folks, Chris from Cinema Hooked, and on today's video I'm talking about the latest news to break about the SnyderVerse. Apparently this one stems from an insider leak, and this person is the same person who leaked some information about the Daredevil Reborn series, about how the whole thing was going to get rebooted, and apparently they have a good track record of, the latest breaking news. If you're already subscribed to this channel, you probably already know my stance on the whole Zack Snyder, SnyderVerse stuff. And if you're new to this channel, you can watch my video there. That's me revisiting Zack Snyder's Justice League. Eventually, I'd like to revisit his whole trilogy of Man of Steel, BVS, Zack Snyder's Justice League. But generally, I enjoy those three films. I like those films. I have kind of been in the camp where it's like, the SnyderVerse is over, it's not coming back. But you never know. You never actually know. I would never want to set myself up like a lot of these fans are, like, it's coming back, you watch, it's coming back, just to be let down and be like, it's not coming back. So I thought I'd just make this little video, kind of go over what's in this Reddit article, and if you haven't seen the Reddit article, I'll link it down in the comments, actually in the description, you can catch that link. And basically, as everyone knows, Warner Brothers is up for sale, and the latest rumor, and again, this comes from a supposedly trusted source, basically it means Zack Snyder returning to DC, and not just for an Elseworlds title, but for an actual revival of the universe he started. This source is apparently being told that Christopher Nolan, which, I mean, hey, if this is actually true, like, that's pretty huge. To have Christopher Nolan's name behind it, that's pretty big. He's going to return as an executive producer, just like he was on Man of Steel. It says if this merger happens, that it implies that the return of Ben Affleck as Batman, who publicly rejected working with Gunn's DCU after its announcement. I don't remember that exact quote from Ben Affleck. I don't know if the actual question asked in the interview was, would you return as Batman in James Gunn's DCU? Like, maybe that was the actual phrase, but I'm not sure. In fact, I'll probably just look that up just to be certain on what I'm talking about. Now, see, this is why I love context. I love context because, in this Reddit article, it's like, oh, Ben Affleck would return as Batman because he refuses to work with James Gunn. Okay, well, actually, because, and this is Ben Affleck saying this, because the experience of making Justice League was creatively unsatisfying and exhausting for him. He stated he is not interested in that way of directing within a shared universe, although he has nothing against James Gunn. So there's going to be that camp, that that people that are in that camp of just, they don't like James Gunn. He doesn't like James Gunn. So, well, no, he's creative differences. He doesn't want to direct a movie in DCU. It sounds like just comic book movies in general. So already that sounds like to me like he wouldn't return as Batman. But let's continue in the article. Henry Cavill, was widely seen in a Josh Horowitz interview where he said he's coming back as Superman. And I remember that. I remember being super pumped for that because he'd made that cameo in Black Adam, and I was like, oh my God, Henry Cavill's back. Because, hey, I'm a huge Henry Cavill fan. I love Man of Steel. Like I said, I love BVS and Zack Snyder's Justice. I love those three movies. Like, again, I don't know if I already linked it, but you can check out my video there or earlier in the video where I linked it. But I just, I really like those movies. And while I can be critical of them, it does not mean that I do not really like them. Because Man of Steel, as much as I like James Gunn's new Superman, Man of Steel is, if I had to choose, I like the Man of Steel style over the new style. But it's nothing against James Gunn or David Cornsweet. I just, I did like the realism of Man of Steel, and I love Henry Cavill. I mean, he's, as Zack Snyder recently said on Instagram, Henry Cavill is Superman. So in order for all this to happen, the newest rumor and apparent news to break is that they're being told Saudi Arabia is now the front runner to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery, which, hey, we all know that Saudi Arabia, they have money. Like, if Warner Brothers only cared about the bottom line, like money, like the dollar sign, then yeah, I could see this actually happening. If this is indeed true, I could see them just throwing a boatload of cash at Warner Brothers. Snyder and the UFC partner with Saudi Arabia's General Entertainment Authority, chaired by Turki Al-Sheikh, to produce Brawler, an upcoming film Snyder is directing and co-writing. The Saudis trust Snyder creatively, and he is already tied directly into their entertainment expansion. This insider says that this is exactly why Snyder has been highlighting his SnyderVerse work on social media lately. The signals aren't random, they're building momentum. The insider pointed them to comments from Hollywood producer Patrick Caligari, who said he was the first to report Saudi Arabia's interest in Warner Brothers Discovery back in October. According to Caligari, and apologies if that person actually watches this video, which I highly doubt if I'm mispronouncing your name, doing my best. He recently returned from Saudi Arabia. The deal is nearly done. This person stated that Saudi Arabia's acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery is one signature away from completion, and the price could reach $70 billion. Wow. Can I have just like $10,000? If true, the sale could close faster than anyone expected, and the SnyderVerse could return far sooner than fans ever thought possible. Okay, so that's the news. I'm still going to call it a rumor. That's a rumor. I mean, as far as its sources say, okay, well, I want to know your sources. I mean, I know they're saying that they talked to a person. I mean, if this happens, I mean, that's huge. That's huge, right? And it's like, oh, SnyderVerse can be restored. But can it? I mean, these actors, Ben Affleck, if that was his reaction, and it wasn't to James Gunn as a creative type of thing. He said that working on Justice League, he thought it was exhausting. So would he want to return to the cowl? Like, would he want to be Batman again? Because it'd be the same type of production. He'd be under the same constraints and, pressure that he was under when he was playing Batman, which at that time, I think he was dealing with alcoholism and, his life wasn't exactly on the right track at the time. Then you got to take into account these actors' schedules, things that they have planned. Like Ben Affleck has some stuff going on. I mean, if we just take a quick look at what Ben Affleck has coming up, he's got 7 projects he's currently acting in and a producer on. So, I mean, when's he going to find the time to be Batman again? And just looking at Henry Cavill, he's got 4 things that are in pre-production, and he's got like 5 things that are in post-production. So post-production, obviously he's already done the acting aspect of it. But I mean, these are busy people. Like, what's their availability? Gal Gadot. We can look up Gal Gadot. Even Gal Gadot. Kal-El, no. Even she has 5 things that she's currently working on currently. So when would she have time to return as Wonder Woman? I'm just trying to keep a realistic look at all of this. Like, even if those actors would return, let's just say they would all be like, yes, I am down to return. When could they return? How old will they be when they return? Like, will they be able to just pick right back up where Zack Snyder's Justice League ended and we get like a Zack Snyder's Justice League Part 2? Like, I just don't know. Would that work? Here's another question I have for you, and I'd love it if you gave me an answer down in the comments. Let's say that Saudi Arabia, they acquire Warner Brothers Discovery. Zack Snyder's Justice League is restored. We're bringing it back. We're going to do more films. But like I said, these actors are very busy. So would you be okay with Zack Snyder's universe being restored and them having to recast some of those roles? Because let's face it, I mean, those 3 actors are very busy. Not to mention, Ezra Miller probably doesn't have a whole lot of work going on. Apparently, he's showing interest in returning to the role. That's a whole nother thing. I'm not a huge Ezra Miller fan. I didn't love his version of The Flash. The Flash movie has flashes of goodness in it, but overall, I really didn't love it. But would you be okay with 1, 2, 3 of these actors being recast? Would it still be the same? So here's the main question. And again, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. What would you be okay, or would you even want the SnyderVerse restored if it meant getting different actors in these roles? Would you still want it restored? I would love to know what you guys think, because I mean, like I said, I'm a fan of those films, but I love Henry Cavill as Superman. Well, let's say Henry can't do it. So they're like, oh, we're going to recast Superman, and it's Glenn Powell. I'm just throwing a name out. I just saw The Running Man, so he's kind of on the top of my mind right now. Hey, Running Man review if you want to check that out. But I just don't know if that would be the same. Like, it would have to be Henry Cavill. And, if you're going to have Batman, like, it's got to be Ben Affleck. So for me, as a person who liked those films, I don't think SnyderVerse works if you have to recast any of those main roles of the Justice League. Like, that's just not going to work. It won't be successful if those actors don't return. So then in that case, is it worth bringing back? Seriously, is it worth bringing back if you can't have those actors? Because those actors made those movies what they are. And I mean, I'm not a Zack Snyder hater. I just don't like that a certain corner of that fan base has unfortunately given the entire fan base kind of a bad rep. They're cool films. I really enjoy them, but I don't think that they would be successful if it's not those actors. Ben Affleck, I mean, that's the best Batman we've ever seen. I mean, that suit, the Batmobile was cool. The look of, I mean, he was so imposing. He's definitely the most imposing looking Batman that there's ever been. That warehouse scene will live rent-free in so many fans' heads for the rest of their lives. That scene is just amazing. But if they try and do a new version of that warehouse scene and it's a different actor, I mean, it's just not the SnyderVerse anymore. I just feel like it's not the SnyderVerse. It's just not. So what's the solution? I mean, do people only want these actors back, or do they just want Snyder style with the DC Comics universe? And will this be Elseworld? Because from what I've heard, James Gunn is secure regardless of who acquires. Now, I don't know if that was only if Paramount acquires them, or if that's any acquisition he's protected. I don't know. So would we have a DCU and a SnyderVerse? Would we have it be like an Elseworlds type thing? Would you like to see Zack Snyder come back and it's just he's telling a new story and it's just Snyder style? I just don't see how this will all work. To me, realistically, bringing back the SnyderVerse just doesn't really make sense to me. I mean, if it could all work, if you could get all those actors back, sure, yes, you can make that work. There's so many variables to it all. The actor's availability and like, oh, well, Henry Cavill, he'll be free in 6 years to film. Okay, well, you know, how old's he going to be then? Was he a 56-year-old Superman? Like, but it's supposed to be a continuation of the Zack Snyder's Justice League and we're getting part 2? Like, is that... I just don't know if that's a good... I don't know what to make of this. End of the day, I think most of us enjoyed those Snyder movies. You know, I love Man of Steel, BVS, and Zack Snyder's Justice League. Are there changes I would make to them? Sure. I mean, they're not perfect films, but damn, I enjoyed the hell out of all 3 of them. I saw BVS many times in theaters, and I was one of those people online that I was defending the hell out of it because I loved it and I hated that it got such bad Rotten Tomatoes scores and the critics were tearing it apart because it's not a bad movie. So it's definitely not as bad as they try to make it seem. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Do you want SnyderVerse restored, or are you in the camp that's like, no, it's done, it's over, DCU, just give me David Cornsweet. Like, let's see who the next Batman is. Like, we got Robert Pattinson's Batman. You know, SnyderVerse is done, it's over, let it go. Are you in the camp like you really want to see this come back? Because I'm just kind of like in the middle and I'm on the fence. I know people don't like people that are like on the fence, but it's like, I'm just being realistic. I support James Gunn's DCU, and we've only had one live action film, so I really don't like the critiques of like, oh, when you compare it to Man of Steel, well, it's a flop. And James Gunn has had one film under the DCU, an animated project. He's got some series coming out. It's like he hasn't had enough to do with DC. He hasn't had as many projects to really like fairly critique how successful the DCU is or isn't. We need to see Clayface, we need to see Supergirl. But I'd love to hear from you guys down in the comments. And if you're new to this channel, again, if you hit that little subscribe button, it really helps a small channel like mine out. And I love chatting with you guys about all of this stuff. You know, will this happen? I don't know. Nobody really knows. I don't know if this source knows what the hell he's talking about. I guess time will tell, but what do you think? Do you think it'll happen? Let me know down in the comments. And like always, let's keep the conversation going after the video ends, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.